I'm going to share with you the 9 surprising traits that we all have that connect us to our darker side, and I promise you'll see yourself in a whole new light. Today we're going to explore a fascinating topic, the 9 traits commonly associated with devils that also manifest in humans. You might be wondering, what do I mean by this? Well, let me tell you, these traits are not just reserved for mythical creatures or horror movie villains. They can be found in our friends, family members, and even ourselves. The question is, how do we recognize them, and what can we do about it? We all have a little bit of good and evil inside us, and it's essential to acknowledge this duality to become better versions of ourselves. By examining these 9 traits, we can gain a deeper understanding of human nature and learn to navigate the complexities of our own darker impulses. So buckle up and let's dive into the 9 traits of a devil that are also present in humans. Manipulation is the first trait on our list, and it's a doozy. We've all encountered people who are incredibly skilled at influencing others for their own gain. They might use charm, guilt, or even straight-up lies to get what they want. But the question is, why do they do it? Is it because they're inherently selfish? Or is it because they're trying to fill a void within themselves? Some people are masters of manipulation, and they can do it in a way that's so subtle you don't even realize you're being played. They might make you feel like you're the one who came up with the idea, or they might make you feel guilty for not doing what they want. Either way, it's essential to recognize when someone is manipulating you and take steps to protect yourself. Manipulation can be a powerful tool, but it can also be incredibly destructive. When we manipulate others, we're not just controlling their actions, we're also controlling their emotions. We're making them feel a certain way, and that's a huge responsibility. So the next time you catch yourself manipulating someone, take a step back and ask yourself why you're doing it. Is it because you're trying to control the situation, or is it because you're trying to avoid something within yourself? A lot of people struggle with manipulation because they're trying to fill a void within themselves. They might feel insecure, unlovable, or unimportant, and they use manipulation as a way to compensate for these feelings. But the problem is, manipulation only leads to more emptiness. It's a never-ending cycle of control and manipulation, and it's exhausting. Moving on to the second trait, which is deceitfulness. Dishonesty can be a powerful tool for personal advantage, and some people use it to get ahead in life. They might lie, cheat, or steal to achieve their goals, and they might even justify their actions by telling themselves that the ends justify the means. But the problem with deceitfulness is that it's a slippery slope. Once you start lying, it's hard to stop, and soon you're trapped in a web of deceit. You might start to believe your own lies, and that's when things get really dangerous. You see, honesty is essential for building trust and strong relationships. When we're dishonest, we're not just hurting others, we're also hurting ourselves. We're damaging our own self-respect and integrity, and that's a hard thing to come back from. Some people are habitual liars, and they might not even realize they're doing it. They might tell white lies to avoid conflict or to make themselves look better. But the problem is, those lies can add up quickly. Lying is a coping mechanism, and it's often used to avoid fear, rejection, or conflict. But the problem is, lying only leads to more fear, rejection, and conflict. It's a never-ending cycle of dishonesty, and it's exhausting. Let's move on to the third trait, which is a lack of empathy. You might know someone who is incredibly cold towards others' feelings. They might not understand why you're upset, or they might not care. They might even make fun of you for being emotional or sensitive. But the problem with a lack of empathy is that it's alienating. When we're not able to understand or connect with others' emotions, we're not just hurting them, we're also hurting ourselves. We're missing out on deep, meaningful connections, and we're stuck in a world of superficial relationships. Some people struggle with empathy because they're too caught up in their own problems. They might be so focused on their own struggles that they don't have the emotional bandwidth to care about others. Others might struggle with empathy because they're afraid of getting hurt. They might have been burned in the past, and now they're hesitant to open themselves up to others. But the problem is, when we're not empathetic, we're not just hurting others, we're also hurting ourselves. We're missing out on the opportunity to connect with others on a deeper level, and we're stuck in a world of loneliness and isolation. Next up is the fourth trait, which is charm. We've all met people who are incredibly charismatic and charming. They might light up a room with their presence, and they might make you feel like you're the only person in the world. But the problem with charm is that it can be used to mask true intentions. Some people use charm to manipulate others, to get what they want, or to avoid responsibility. They might be charming in public, but behind closed doors, they're a completely different person. Some people are naturally charming, and they might not even realize the impact they have on others. They might be oblivious to the fact that they're making others feel weak in the knees or tongue-tied. But the problem is, when we're too charming, we're not just affecting others. We're also affecting ourselves. We're creating a persona, a mask that hides our true selves, and that can be exhausting. Let's move on to the fifth trait, which is a thirst for power. We've all met people who will stop at nothing to get what they want. They might climb the corporate ladder, step on others to get to the top, or use every trick in the book to attain control over others. But the problem with a thirst for power is that it's never ending. Once you get what you want, you'll always want more. You'll always need more power, more control, and more validation. Some people are driven by a desire for recognition, and they might do anything to get it. They might step on others, take credit for others' work, or manipulate others to get what they want. But the problem is, when we're driven by a thirst for power, we're not just hurting others. We're also hurting ourselves. We're creating a never-ending cycle of need and desire, and that's exhausting. Next up is the sixth trait, which is vengeance. We've all met people who hold grudges that drive their actions. They might be revenge-driven, and they might stop at nothing to get back at someone who wronged them. But the problem with vengeance is that it's never-ending. Once you get your revenge, you'll always want more. You'll always need more validation, more justice, and more retribution. Some people are driven by a desire for revenge because they're hurting. They might have been wronged in the past, and they're seeking justice. But the problem is, when we're driven by vengeance, we're not just hurting others, we're also hurting ourselves. We're creating a never-ending cycle of anger and resentment, and that's exhausting. Let's move on to the seventh trait, which is a tendency toward cruelty. We've all met people who derive pleasure from causing others pain. They might be sadistic, and they might even take pleasure in watching others suffer. But the problem with cruelty is that it's hurtful. When we're cruel to others, we're not just hurting them. We're also hurting ourselves. We're damaging our own self-respect and integrity, and that's a hard thing to come back from. Some people are cruel because they're hurt. They might be acting out of pain, anger, or fear, and they might not even realize they're being cruel. But the problem is, when we're cruel, we're not just hurting others. We're also hurting ourselves. We're creating a never-ending cycle of pain and suffering, and that's exhausting. Next up is the eighth trait, which is selfishness. We've all met people who prioritize themselves over others. They might be selfish, narcissistic, and self-absorbed, and they might not even realize the impact they have on others. But the problem with selfishness is that it's alienating. When we prioritize ourselves over others, we're not just hurting them. We're also hurting ourselves. We're missing out on deep, meaningful connections, and we're stuck in a world of loneliness and isolation. Some people are selfish because they're afraid of being hurt. They might have been burned in the past, and now they're hesitant to open themselves up to others. But the problem is, when we're selfish, we're not just hurting others, we're also hurting ourselves. We're missing out on the opportunity to connect with others on a deeper level, and we're stuck in a world of superficial relationships. Finally, let's move on to the 9th trait, which is an obsession with chaos. We've all met people who thrive in disorder and conflict. They might be drama queens, chaos makers, or individuals who seem to create drama wherever they go. They might provoke arguments, escalate situations, or make everything feel like a crisis. For them, chaos feels like a source of energy, something that brings attention or excitement into their lives. The problem with an obsession with chaos is that it disrupts peace, damages relationships, and leaves a trail of unresolved issues. Chaos may provide temporary satisfaction, but it's always followed by instability and confusion, and eventually, it alienates those around them. People who thrive in chaos often do so because they fear boredom, feeling powerless, or being ignored. They may struggle with inner peace or a sense of control, and as a result, they create chaos to fill the void. The issue is, chaos is a destructive force. It consumes everything in its path, and those who seek it often end up losing more than they gain. But the alternative, embracing calm, order, and peace, leads to lasting fulfillment. By choosing stability, we invite deeper connections and meaningful progress into our lives. Recognizing the pull towards chaos is the first step to choosing a more grounded path. It takes discipline, but the rewards are worth it. So, these are the 9 traits that are often associated with devils, but also show up in human nature: manipulation, deceitfulness, lack of empathy, charm, thirst for power, vengeance, cruelty, selfishness, and obsession with chaos. Recognizing these traits within ourselves is essential for personal growth and transformation. By choosing virtues like honesty, compassion, humility, and peace over these darker impulses, we can align ourselves with the greater good and become better versions of who we're meant to be. It's not about being perfect, but about striving to improve each day. What do you think? Which of these traits have you noticed in others or yourself? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. If you're looking for more insights on personal growth and how to overcome negative traits, check out my next video on how to cultivate inner peace. Thank you for watching, and remember, awareness leads to change. See you in the next one.